So, when it comes to GTA, it's been hated on for many reasons, or many people talked about it for many reasons. Rather because they like the game, rather because they hate it, and just, as I said before, many reasons. But what happens when you have a GTA fanboy suddenly try to make a video about GTA in a negative light, and probably one of the stupidest ways possible? Well, you have Swegta's video about transphobia on GTA 5. In today's video, I'm going to be going over his points and breaking them down. And also just a disclaimer for anyone with me trying to take what I say out of context. No, I'm not in the defense of transphobia as I'm pretty against it along with homophobia. But Swegta's video was pretty fucking bad, and I thought it would be nice if I were to criticize him on his points and stuff like that. So, let's get into the video. So starting off with one of the points which he commonly brings up throughout the video, it probably has to be representation about GTA. Now, I will be honest here. When it comes to old media, especially something like GTA, which is known for being pretty offensive, I think it's a pretty bad idea. Not only because you're looking at something in the past, which is obviously going to be dated as time goes on, and as you held it to a higher standard than it was back then, but on top of that, it's GTA. A franchise which is known for literally making fun of our everyday lives and therefore making fun of everyone and everything that there is. And it's kind of ironic. And matter of fact, speaking of ironic, a lot of the time he brings up these NPCs in the game which he considers trans. Even though the game itself says that these individuals which he constantly brings up are literally just NPCs, which are drag queens. And if you guys don't know what a drag queen is, it's literally just a dude which dresses in women's clothing. It doesn't mean that they're trans, it just means that they're a dude which wears women's clothing. But of course, throughout the entire video, he tries to push this narrative of, oh yes, because that's the only representation that trans people apparently have, and apparently is transphobic. But of course, let's continue on to his second point, which is pretty bad as well. Another point which Swegta constantly brings up throughout his video probably has to be some voice lines that the characters Franklin and, who is it? Oh yeah, then Michael DeSantis say as well. And I'll pause here in order just for you guys to listen to them so you can just get the perfect context for what I'm about to say.
Hello, sir. Madam. Whatever. Well, hello, mid-op.
Hey, you need to keep taking your hormones.
So yeah, now that you've heard that, I think you should know about where I'm going to go into when it comes to this category. Now, I'm not trying to say that I'm transphobic because, as I said before, I'm against it. But when it comes to Swegta, throughout his entire video, or throughout a good majority of his video, he tries to use these voice lines as a reason to not only as to why, there's transphobia in GTA 5, even though these characters are drag queens, but on top of that, he tries to use it as a reason to why apparently Rockstar appeals to people which are transphobic and homophobic, even though those two things have nothing to do with each other. Like, I'm pretty sure that there could be someone which is rather homophobic or transphobic without ever playing the campaign or without ever even, interacting with an NPC on purpose, if you get what I mean. So I feel like this point is generally bad, and on top of that, are we just gonna forget about the fact that the main characters of GTA are generally, not good people, considering the fact that they do so many things which are morally questionable, rather story-wise or gameplay-wise, to the point where I'm pretty sure that them actively insulting someone or misgendering someone isn't going to probably be one of their first priorities. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure if it was up to the player, that person, regardless of race or gender or ethnicity, would just be another person on the street to gun down or just to run over, if you get what I mean. But of course, let's move on more into representation about GTA when it comes to this man and his arguments, which are pretty bad. Now, of course, as I said before, when it comes to representation, I think it's bad, especially when you look at something that's like an old piece of media in the past, because obviously it's not going to be at the same standard that it is nowadays compared to what it was back then. But throughout the entirety of the video, what Swegta does is say that, oh, you can't make fun of these people because the representation that they have in the game is bad, and you totally just can't make fun of people if the only thing which you're going to make fun of them about is just this one aspect of them, when first of all, GTA is a parody of the real world. You said that yourself in the video, and they equally make fun of everyone. And you literally said yourself, I'm pretty sure you said this yourself, that literally most people in the game are stereotypes or some form of caricatures. So what's the problem when it comes to these specific characters? As a matter of fact, talking about specific characters, when it comes to him and his idea of representation, he was so desperate to bring up a very, and I mean just a very specific example, and that being a stripper in the game, which apparently is trans, and tries to use that as an argument to why, oh, the representation in GTA 5 is very bad, when I'm like, okay, but why are you looking at that specifically as a way for representation? Like, as I said earlier, it's dumb to look at representation in GTA because it's GTA, but to look at something like that and consider that general representation, I'm pretty sure that you're only setting yourself up for failure right there, especially when it's something which has nothing to do with representation at all. GTA has never set out to really appeal or really to, I don't know, represent anyone. It's only made its way to, I don't know, to make a video game which generally makes fun of everything while managing to be its own thing, if you get what I mean. But I guess I might as well just move on once again. And one of the last points which I want to bring up in this video is when he constantly says something along the lines of, oh, but why doesn't anyone ever talk about this? Why doesn't anyone ever make a video on this? And I'm sorry to break this to you, Swegta. The main reason why people don't talk about this is due to the fact that what you're talking about is a non-issue. Yes, transphobia exists in the community, but that's something that's in every community. But it doesn't mean that Rockstar necessarily appeals to people which are transphobic and homophobic, just because there's a couple of voice lines in a video game, or just because a couple of people make a couple of edgy jokes from videos which we don't know when they came out. Just because there may be insults to a specific group of people in a video game, just like how there are specific insults for everyone in said video game, does not mean that it's transphobic. And you looking into the past to try and bring up something which is obviously stupid as far when it comes to the idea of, oh, my representation, is probably one of the dumbest things which you could do. Now, I honestly wanted to give this guy the benefit of the doubt because I've rewatched the video just to make sure that I didn't mess up anything when it came to him getting his points across, but throughout the entire video, it was just bad. Not only from the fact that he was constantly trying to pander to people by trying to say, oh, well, this is why you should get mad at GTA because this thing's offensive and that thing's offensive, and some very poor strawman arguments. But most importantly, the fact that he comes across as this person which is trying to treat trans people as these individuals which cannot be offended for something by themselves or can't have their own opinion. Like, I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm pretty sure that if it comes to a person that plays a video game, if they don't like said video game, they can just decide to not play it without it being something that's just immediately something that's just phobic. Like, seriously, what, like, the argument makes no sense because you could just apply that to literally any game which is offensive, especially when it's something like GTA. And second of all, the most ironic thing about this statement is that he tries to protect trans people and treat them like these people which are so weak and frail and they can't really deal with all this stuff, when the most ironic thing is that there's literally people in his comment section which are specifically trans which are calling him out on this stuff. Like, I'm not sure about you guys, but I just find that really funny when I think about it upon, recording the voice lines of this video. So, that's all I had to say, folks. Wolf360 out. I will see you guys and gals in another video coming soon. Later, folks.